Okay, I have been notified that there is some glitch in using that link. Most of them are having an error. So I thought of waiting for a
Okay.
couple more minutes, but it looks like we have like good number of ladies now. Maybe we can get it
Okay.
started and people will join as and when they are available. But yeah, looks like
Sure.
there is an issue with the link that was provided in the email.
Oh,
Even I was kicked out for the first
okay.
time, and next time I was able to log in.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No worries.
hello, ladies. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Ragini. Welcome to our second session of Prerana, motivational insight by exemplary women around us, bought this program by Ontario Telugu Foundation. Today, we are all excited to hear another inspirational journey of our well known Telugu born, Telangana born, first Indian women politician to hold any ministerial position in North America, who is none other than our Dipika Damerla Garu. She's the daughter of an army man who came to Canada to pursue her MBA here. And Deepika Garu worked and served as corporate executive member with two major banks in Canada. With her interest in politics, she also worked as a TV journalist with Toronto-based Omni TV channel, which serves Canada's South Asian communities. So Deepika Damerla is a Canadian politician in Mississauga, Ontario. She is the current Mississauga City Councillor for Ward 7 in the neighborhood of Cooksville since December 2018. Deepika was a Liberal member of Legislative Assembly of Ontario, representing the riding of Mississauga East from 2011 to 2018. Deepika Garu, you're such an inspirational person to so many of us, including me. I truly admire you, and we would love to hear your successful journey from you.
Thank you, Ragini. And I want to say hello to Sunita and Manjusha. I don't see their videos, but I see their names. So I think, oh, now I see Manjusha. Good to see you. I don't know if anybody else is on and I'm not seeing them, but
Hi.
hi. I've always felt, Ragini, that oh, there's a few new people. Is Chandra. Oh wow, this is popping up. Chandra and Surya. Good morning, ladies. I was just getting started. So Ragini, you wanted me to talk about my journey. So I'll just talk about it very briefly. Like all of you, I came to Canada as an immigrant, and the first few years were just go in trying to figure out what you want to do. I came when I was young, so for me it was automatic that I wanted to study. But there's a really interesting backstory that some of you might be able to appreciate. When I came here, I had BCom and my CA degree, and I thought, those two are pretty good. But when I came here, my CA was not recognized, and my BCom, because it's only 3 years, was not a full degree. So I discovered that I couldn't do a postgraduate degree, because when you have a 3-year BCom, it's not a full degree, so you're not eligible for doing a master's. And I was just devastated, as you can imagine, because my CA had no value. And then I said, okay, if my CA has no value, I'll do an MBA or something. And then I'm being told, well, you can't do your MBA because your BCom is not eligible for, you have to do your BCom again and then become eligible. And I said, I'm not going to do a 4-year degree, So I was very, as you can imagine, depressed, disappointed, not sure what am I going to do with my life now, right? Because you can imagine that as a middle class Indian girl, my entire value was in my education. Like, if I didn't have the education, then how was I going to succeed in life? I didn't have money or capital, or I was not going to be a movie star or looks. It was all about my education. And now my education was, well, I didn't know what to do. But see, I was so lucky that I was actually at the University of Toronto, the registrar's office, and he was telling me all this. He said, well, you can't do your, and I started to cry in front of him because I was so distressed. And he, either because he felt sorry for me or he wanted to, get rid of me because he didn't want a young woman crying in his office. He said, why don't you go and talk to the, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to do my MBA. So he said, well, why don't you go and talk to the University of Toronto MBA program? It's just across the street at that time. It was just across the street from the registrar. So he pointed there and said, go talk to their office and see about the admission. I think, and so I took his advice and I went, and I was really lucky. You know, we're talking 20 years ago. I don't know if you could do this today. I walked in and I said, is somebody from the application? I can't remember what I asked. And they said, well, yes, the vice dean of applications is actually in her office. I'll see if she'll see you. And I still remember her name was Sheila. And she saw me as I just walked in, and I told her my full sob story. And on the spot, this is what she said to me. She said, Dipika, if you go and do your final year courses at the University of Toronto for BCom, you're not get a degree because, you know, but you just take the 8 courses that you need that anybody would take in their final year and take your GMAT. And if you come back with an A average and you get a good GMAT score, I will hold a spot for you. There was no email, nothing. She just said that to me. And I went away and I believed her. I went and enrolled, I paid all the fees, and I did 1 full year of BCom at the University of Toronto as an undergraduate at Victoria College. And I took my GMAT. See, I did everything she said to me. And then I went back to her a year later and I said, do you remember me? You told me to do all this. I did all this. And she gave me a seat, and that's how I did my MBA from the Rotman School of Management. So it's a story of luck, persistence, and someone who gave me a chance. And the reason I share this story is I think it's really important for all of us when we succeed to remember that success is equal parts hard work and persistence, but also luck and how others give you a chance. And we should never, ever forget that luck factor and be grateful for that. So I just thought I'd share that as a story to give you an insight. And once I did my MBA, you know, the doors open, right? Because then the campus, all the companies came to recruit on campus. I had a couple of offers. I took the Royal Bank of Canada offer, but the doors just opened in a way that would have been much harder if I didn't have that Canadian MBA.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
Okay, I think I'll stop here. Yeah, I'll just stop here because I don't want to go on. And maybe people have questions, and then I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. Actually, I mean, yeah, there was a luck factor, but your persistence is clearly visible. Yeah, we can imagine how it felt for you after completing your CA, going back to undergraduate, I mean, doing the course again.
Yeah, and I was young. I was 22 or 23 when all of this was happening. But when I look back, I invested so much on just that lady's words, right? So, and it also meant it closed my door to any other MBA. Like I couldn't apply to Europe or any others because this was like a special contract deal I had with her. But she could have moved on. But when you're young, you don't think of all those.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I just that is this.
Deepa has a question.
Hello, Dipika Garu. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Deepa.
Okay, right. So
I thought Deepa had a question because she waved her hand, but
I'm very
maybe
happy.
not.
Like, you know, I got an
opportunity
to talk to you online.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, I can. Yes.
I think
I can hear you.
Right. Okay, so it's really happy. Like, you know, I got an opportunity to talk to you, like, you know, live online. And like, you know, I'm very thankful for OTF for giving this opportunity. So my question is, Dipika Garu, like, you know, there is definitely that you achieved a lot. Like, you know, we have to say that. But one thing, like, you know, I can relate to all the immigrants and, like, you know, to all the people who come from India and like an entire world. Normally, like, you know, we have some kind of stress or anxiety, like, you know, whatever, to talk to other people because it's not our language, it's not our culture. Like there are many things that we do not have because we came from entirely different culture, right? So you started your life there, when you come to Canada, and you reached all the way where you can sit with um, the people who are, the people who are elected by the ordinary people, and then you can make the decisions that are something to the country. So you achieved that, you reach it to that point. So during this process, did you go through, you had to go through any stress or anxiety or what we talk, this is not my language, I'm not fluent in this. It's even when we go out to lunch, right, we do not know, what to use to eat, because that is not our, that's not our thing. We do not have that custom of eating with the spoons, fork, chopsticks, and whatever. We have to adapt that, but initially we do not know all that, right? So during those times, did you have to go through any hardship?
Yes, hardship, yes. Stress, yes. Anxiety, yes. Always, and you. Let me give you a small example, and that'll. I have been an MPP. I was a provincial politician and everything, right? And then when I lost my election in provincial politics, when Kathleen went down, I had to then decide, what do I do now, right? Like, what do I do with my life? And then an opportunity came for me to run for city council. So when I was running for city council, when I looked at the boundary, a big part of the boundary was an area that I had never represented before. And this is a very wealthy, very rich area. And I remember feeling intimidated to go and knock on those doors, because I was used to the middle class, which is what I've always represented in my riding. So now this was a new area, very wealthy people. We're talking, I don't know if you're familiar with Mississauga, but this is South Mississauga. This is the area called Gordon Woods, with huge homes. And I knew that there would be very few I felt that there would be very few Indians as well. That would be predominantly Caucasian. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I'll get a good response. And I was quite nervous about knocking on those doors. So I went with a friend who happens to be white, a Polish person. And I said, come with me, because maybe the doors will open more, or, there'll be a little bit, because you'll be there as moral support. So he, me, and then two of his young kids. And kids are always great when you go knocking on doors, because, they're able to break the ice. And two things I discovered, Ragini and all of you. The first one was there was a lot of rich Indians over there. So I started to knock on doors. So in fact, my friend, whose name is Wojtek, the Polish guy, says, Dipika, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I'm just sharing the story because sometimes in our head, we have all these fears. But when you actually go out, and so sometimes you just have to do it, Deepa. And once you do it, I have this line, which is my own line. Everything is easier than you think and harder than you think. Because when you think something's easy, guaranteed, it's going to be harder than what you thought it was. And when you think something's really hard, almost guaranteed, it's a little bit easier than you thought. That's how life is. So so I always remember this example of how stressed and nervous I was, because I was thinking, I've just lost this election. Everybody hates the Liberals. They know me as a Liberal. This is a really rich white area. They tend to be conservatives. How are they going to receive me? I have to win their vote. What's my strategy to be able to win their vote? So I had all these stereotypes in my head. And when I went there, it was different. So I just share this as an example as to how we have to sometimes, Deepa, just get out of our comfort zone and just remember one thing. The most important thing that you and I and all of us have to succeed in Canada is pride in our culture, pride in our identity. Never shy away from your identity. And because, people are like, you know, a dog can sense if you're afraid. I don't know if you know this, but you know, dogs are very, if anybody's a pet owner here, I see some smiles. A dog can sense, even the littlest dog can sense if you're afraid of them, and then they, but if you're, you know, strong, then they leave you alone. And it's the same thing with people. If they detect in you any insecurity about your culture, your identity, they just know it, and then they will go after you. So the most important thing that we can do for ourselves and our own children is to be really, really grounded and confident of our own identity, our own self. So if we eat with our hand, just fine. You know, never think about it. Never think that eating with a fork is more superior to eating with the hand. We just have to be really strong and truly believe that our own culture is as good as any other. That's my advice to you.
Thank you very much, Deepika ma'am. Yeah, that's a lot actually. That means a lot because like, you know, whatever we believe, whatever we have to follow, and we have to be confident on, like, you know, whatever we believe, right? So basically that is what you're saying, that like, you know, if other people, if they realize that, like, you know, we are not confident, then obviously, yeah, like you said, they come after us. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I can totally relate that. And thank you very much for that one.
Yeah, Deepika, I wanted to ask you something.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
When you're doing your MBA and you're working as a corporate executive for the two major banks in Canada, what made you or what attracted you to become a politician actually? And how did you overcome that pressure in this male-dominated politics?
Yeah. So that's a fantastic question. You know, the funniest thing is I wanted to be a politician even when I was quite young, which is unusual because, you know, how many to be a politician? Because many kids who are 12 years old say, oh, I want to mom, I want to, she would have said it to anyone, because if I'd ever said it to say, I would just laughed, right? And she would have said, you know, what, you're not a Sonia Gandhi or a Priyanka Gandhi, you know. But it was just something in my head that I always thought, my God, being a politician would be so great. And I used to, you know, like you guys are young, me, Indira Gandhi was, you know, she died when I was quite young. She was shot. It was like this model, but in my she was model of so great, you know. She's a female prime minister of India, and in my mind, she was just a bit of a role model. But then that was just something as a child that I had a passing fancy. And then, of course, I did my CA and all of that, and I was planning a life in the financial sector. Then I came here, changed my line a little bit, but not too much. And then but what happened was when I was working at the Bank of Nova Scotia, I had my daughter. And I found it quite hard to balance the time requirement because I was in corporate banking at that point. And over there, people come in at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then don't leave till 7:30, 8 every day, right? And back then, there was no concept really of working from home. You had to show face time, like you had to be in the office, and all the guys would be there at 7 a.m. and then they'd work till 7. And I was really struggling because I had to go to the daycare, pick up my daughter by 5:30. I was late every day picking up my daughter, and they didn't like me, and my daughter didn't like me because I was always like paying them late fees. And I don't know if some of you still have kids in daycare and whether they still have that, like if you're 1 minute late it's $1, if you're 5 minutes late, it used to be fairly harsh penalties for being late, and so it was very stressful. And I just asked myself, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I killing myself like this? To what end? And so at that time, my husband had his own business, and he just once said to me, well, why don't you just come work for me and, you know, work part-time, and we'll see how it goes. And so that's what I did. So that's how I got out of the Bay Street rat race. And then once I started to work for the family business, what happened was I had a lot more time. It was one of the best years of my life. I was home with my daughter. I would work from, I don't know, 11 to 3 or something like that. And, I could bring my daughter to work if I wanted to because it was a small family business. And then that's how I started to get involved with Omni Television. I was volunteering with TV. And then what happened was I started to meet politicians because I would start to interview them. And once I started to meet politicians, and I then got really involved with the political parties slowly. And that's how the idea came into my head that maybe I can run too, because there's, and the great thing about what I learned about the Canadian political system is how, the hardest thing to run for MP or MPP is to get the ticket. That's what you say in India, Congress ki ticket vachindal, at the BJP ticket vachindi. How do you get that ticket? So in India, you have to have connections, right? So the system in India, which is similar to the British model, is there's the party and the party officials. So in India, for example, it would be the All India Congress, for example, and Sonia Gandhi and gang. And they would say, who do we want to run in all these different areas? And so there's an interview process, and they like to get celebrities and local families with name recognition, right? So you have the Scindias, and you have this, and you have that. Name is very important, and money is very important. The Canadian model is more like the American model, not like the British or the Indian model. If you want to get a ticket, what the party says is, okay, show me that you're popular. And the way you do that is, you're very familiar with the American primaries, right? So, how we had Hillary Clinton and Obama both saying we want to run for president. So you have a mini election in which the Democrats vote. So that we have the same system in Canada. We have primaries where if I want to run, say in Mississauga, East Cooksville, and Ragini, you also say, I want to be the Liberal candidate, and I'm saying, I want to be the Liberal candidate, and Chandana says, I want to be the Liberal candidate, and Surya says, I want to be the Liberal candidate. So there's 4 people saying, we all want to be the candidate for the same area. So then what the party says is, we'll hold a mini election to see who is the most popular of the 4 of you. So, but the only people who can vote are members of the Ontario Liberal Party. So then, you will go and talk. So say there's 500 members. Usually there's 3,000-4,000 members. And then you try and convince those 3,000 or 4,000 members. So Ragini says, you should elect me because blah, blah, blah. And Surya will say blah, blah, blah. And Chandana, and I will. And then you have that election. And then whoever wins gets the ticket. So what this system does is, it gives people like me and you, ordinary people, a chance to actually get a ticket. You don't have to be famous, you don't have to be wealthy, you don't have to be the CEO of a company, you don't have to have like a big name to get a ticket. And once I learned about the system, I was very attracted to it, and I thought, this is what real democracy is. Because what good is democracy if only the elite can run, right? Unless middle class people and poor people can run. Because I know what it's like to not have, I'm not going to inherit much here in Canada. Whatever I inherit in India, when it comes here, divided by 50 will be only so much. So unlike a wealthy person, I actually can relate to another middle class person's concerns, or what happens if I lose my job. And that's why I feel it's really important to have the middle class strongly represented in Parliament, right? And so that's pretty much how I got into politics. Long story.
No, it's so good to hear. I mean, yeah. So it started from being a journalist in a TV channel, and then you.
Yeah.
But I think you already have the interest of becoming a politician.
I already have the interest. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, this gave you a boost of becoming a person that now.
It did give me, and being on television also helped a lot, because again, you get name recognition. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe I'll go with the other ladies if they have any other questions.
Fine. Hi, Dipika.
Hi, who's this?
Sridevi.
Sridevi. I can't see you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I can't see you, but that's all right. I can hear you.
Now you are able to see me? Yeah? Okay.
No, that's fine. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Can the others see you,
Like
Sridevi?
I can see Sridevi.
Yeah, we can see her.
Oh, okay. All right, that's great. Then maybe I need to figure out why I can't. But go ahead.
Yeah. మీరు పాలిటిక్స్ లోకి వచ్చారు. అలాగా మీ పిల్లల్ని కూడా పాలిటిక్స్ లోకి రావాలని ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తున్నారా మీరు?
భలే క్వశ్చన్ వేశారు మీరు. నాకు ఒక కూతురు ఉంది. ఇప్పట్లో మాత్రం దానికి అస్సలు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేదు. అంటే నేను ఎంత బిజీగా ఉంటానో చూస్తోంది కాబట్టి నేను అడిగాను కొన్నిసార్లు, అంటే ఇప్పుడు నేను పేరు చేసుకున్నాను కదా, డిడ్ యూ వాంట్ టు రన్ అంటే అంది లేదు, నిన్ను చూసాక ముందరే నాకు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేదు, నిన్ను చూసాక ఇంకా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేదు. అండ్ ఇంకా షీఈ్ యంగ్ కదా, ఇంకా షీఈ్ 22 years old. మేబీ 30 ఏళ్ళు అప్పటికి వచ్చాక she might decide, but the advantage she will have is నేను చేశాను కాబట్టి ఆ ధైర్యం ఉంటుంది. అమ్మ చేసింది కాబట్టి నేను చేయగలుగుతాను, అది మాత్రం ఉంటుంది. కానీ rest depends on her. But definitely I would encourage children to if I interest unte I would definitely. Yes.
ఎవరికైనా మీరు గైడ్ చేస్తారా? ఇప్పుడు మా పిల్లలకు కానీ ఎవరికైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంది అనుకోండి.
తప్పకుండా గైడ్ చేస్తాను. అబ్సల్యూట్లీ 100%. ఉన్నారా ఎవరైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ తోటి?
జస్ట్ అడుగుతున్నా నేను, నాకంటే ఇప్పుడు మీతో మాట్లాడుతున్నప్పుడు ఐడియా వచ్చింది అనమాట. ఇప్పుడు యంగ్స్టర్స్ పిల్లలకి ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తే మీలాంటి పొలిటీషియన్స్ మన తెలుగు వాళ్ళల్లో ఉండి సపోర్ట్ ఇస్తే ఎంతో మంది కూడా రావచ్చు కదా మీరు ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తే అని చెప్పి నా ఒపీనియన్.
తప్పకుండా నేను చెప్పేది ఓన్లీ వన్ థింగ్ ఐ విల్ సే, ఇక్కడ పాలిటిక్స్ కొంచెం ఇండియా కన్నా చాలా వేరే అని అది మాత్రం మనం ఆలోచించుకోవాలి. ఎందుకంటే నేను పాలిటిక్స్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వగానే అప్పుడు ప్రీమియర్ ఉండేవాడు డాల్టన్ మెగింటీ, నీకు గుర్తుందో లేదో, మెగింటీ అని, హీ వాజ్ ద ప్రీమియర్. నాకు అన్నాడు అనమాట, he said that there are two types of people who get into politics: those who get in to get a name and those who get in to do something. If you're getting into politics to get a name, you will be disappointed, but if you're getting into politics to do something, then you will be rewarded. అది మాత్రం మనం అందరం బాగా గుర్తు పెట్టుకోవాలి. ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పుడు నేను మిమ్మల్ని అడుగుతాను, who is the minister of finance, మీకు చెప్పలేకపోతారు. Ontario, who is the minister of finance అని అడిగితే ఒక ప్రీమియర్ పేరు, మేయర్ పేరు, ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్ పేరు, దాని తర్వాత ఇంకెవ్వరికి ఏ పేర్లు గుర్తుంది. ఏదో స్కాండల్ అవుతే ఆ వారానికి గుర్తుంటాయి, కానీ తర్వాత మనలో పాలిటిషియన్స్ లో ఎంతమంది ఇప్పుడు ప్రీమియర్ అవుతాం లేకపోతే ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్? సాధారణంగా we will be MPPs, ministers. సో అది మనం గుర్తుంచుకోవాలి. ఇది ఇండియా కాదు, ఏదో సెక్యూరిటీ గార్డు, హంకా డమ్కార్, లాల్ బత్తి అవన్నీ ఏమి ఉండవు. So you have to be quite modest, and I want to bring change, I want to represent people, I want to help people, social work చేద్దామని ఆ ఉద్దేశం ఉంటేనే చెయ్యాలి. ఏదో పెద్ద పేరు వస్తుంది, ఇది వస్తుంది, హంకా వస్తుంది, స్టాటస్ వస్తుంది అని మనం అనుకుంటే కొంచెం డిసప్పాయింట్ అవుతాం. అవన్నీ కావాలంటే వేరే చేసుకోవాలి, మనం బిజినెస్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, లేకపోతే ఏదో మూవీస్, ఫిల్మ్ స్టార్స్ అవన్నీ అవుతే అది వేరు. కానీ కెనడాలో పాలిటిక్స్ చాలా లోకి, అది మాత్రం నేను నిస్సందేహంగా అంటే యంగ్ పీపుల్ కి చెప్తాను. ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ దెమ్ టు థింక్ ఏదో ఇండియా లాగా ఏదో వాళ్ళు అందరూ సంజయ్ ఏమిటి రాహుల్ గాంధీ, ప్రియాంక గాంధీ అలా పేర్లు ఉండవని. అంతే.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి.
ఆల్సో నో కరప్షన్, సో నో బ్లాక్ మనీ, అది కూడా గుర్తుంచుకోవాలి.
అలాగే యాక్చువల్ గా నా ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే అడగటంలో పేరు గాని మనీ గాని సంపాదించటం కాదు, ఒక సమాజానికి ఏదైనా మనకు ఉపయోగపడేది చెయ్యాలి, నలుగురికి నచ్చే విధంగా మనం మెలగాలి, ఆ విధంగానే నా ఉద్దేశము. అంతేగాని పేరుకి మనీ అట్లా కాదు.
కరెక్ట్. నేను అనేది ఏంటంటే నాట్ దట్ దే ఆర్ బ్యాడ్ థింగ్. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ సెయింగ్ అంటే డబ్బు చేసుకోవాలి, పేరు కావాలంటే దే ఆర్ నాట్ బ్యాడ్ థింగ్స్, బట్ దిస్ ఇస్ నాట్ ద రూట్. అంతే. అది ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఈవెన్ సెయింగ్ దట్ దే ఆర్ బ్యాడ్ థింగ్స్.
అంటే కొంతమంది మనలో గాని మాలో గాని మా పిల్లలు ఎవరికన్నా ఉండి చెయ్యాలి అనుకుంటే సమాజానికి ఏదైనా అట్లా అంటే మంచి ప్లాట్ఫామ్ ఉండాలి, మంచి సపోర్ట్ ఉండాలి, మంచిగా ఇచ్చే సలహా ఇచ్చే వాళ్ళు ఉండాలి అట్లా అని చెప్పేసి. అంటే మా పిల్లలకి సగం ఇండియాలో పెరిగి సగం ఇక్కడ వచ్చి చదువుకొని చేసి ఉన్నారు కదా, అట్లా వాళ్ళకి అటు ఫుల్ నాలెడ్జ్ లేదు, ఇక్కడ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు నేర్చుకుంటున్నారు. అందుకని
అవునవును. శ్రీదేవి గారు, I will be more than happy to mentor people. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sridevi garu. Anyone else has any question to Dipika Garu?
Okay, Geeta, go.
Yeah. Hi, Dipika. This is
Hi,
Geeta
Geeta.
speaking. Yeah. How
Hi.
are you doing?
Good, good, good.
Actually, it's not a question regarding general. Like, I wanted to ask you, do you know someone, Asha Damerla from back home?
Yeah,
By
I know
chance?
Asha Damerla. She is my cousin. Naku adi అంటే మా చిన్నాన్న కూతురు Asha Damerla.
Okay, okay. She was my best friend. Actually, we were in the same college in back home Hyderabad. PG
Oh,
same.
wow. ఇప్పుడు గుజరాత్ లో ఉంటుంది లేకపోతే
Yeah,
ముంబైలో ఉందా మా గుజరాత్ లో ఉంది అనుకుంటాను
I
కానీ
know.
ఇప్పుడు మీరు వినున్నారైతే ఆశాస్ డాడ్ గాట్ కోవిడ్
Yeah,
బాలు
that's very bad news actually. Yeah, even I heard too. I just that
Yeah.
one. Oh, actually, I got connected with the last name. మీ పేరు వినగానే maybe somewhere the connection would be. So good.
ఉంది yes good catch yes
Yeah, good catch actually. You
so
still
Geeta,
in
where do you
contact
live
with her?
here
You still in contact with her?
అంటే more than her with her mother and father అంటే ఆశా కన్నా అంటే బాలు బాబును వాళ్ళ అమ్మగారితో కొంచెం
Yeah, mother and father. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
yeah
Oh, very nice, and yeah.
nice okay if no one else has questions then maybe a few yes Surya go ahead yes
Hi Deepika, actually my name is Lakshmi, everyone call me Varu. I logged into my laptop.
Okay, that's why it's so Surya. Okay.
I have a quick question. I mean, a general question only. So, when we come here, we take citizenship here, and then we also want a dual citizenship back in India also. Right? And now people who wants to do politician, like you, example, do you do you still take the dual citizenship? Is there any?
So, Lakshmi, as you know, legally you can't be citizen of India and any other country. So the limitation is from India. You can only have PIO.
Not full citizenship, but still we take the
PIO.
right?
Yeah, PIO. There's many people in Canada like who have French citizenship and Canadian citizenship, and unless you're at the highest levels of politics, I don't think it matters. But it's best to have just one citizenship. That is what I would say. That's the best way, is to have just one citizenship.
But there's no limitations.
I don't know. There's no limitation. I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're running for prime minister and they find out you have dual citizenship for US and Canada, that becomes an issue. And you may have seen that in the US, I think it was Ted Cruz who was running for president, and then it turned out he had Canadian citizenship by birth, and so then that became a real issue and he had to give. So at that high level, for sure it matters. But if it's city council or MPP, but my advice would be always stick to one citizenship, so you don't get
But what's the status to be here, to be like part of this sector?
You don't even you need to be a citizen.
We need to be
you need to be a citizen, Canadian citizen. Yeah.
So it still matters to start up with, because for back home, once we take the citizen, we are kind of leaving that option in India, right? We should not
Yes.
We should not go in this sector or something.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. You have to make that hard, difficult decision. That's true.
And another thing, like you would have been studied CA, like something that you want to do. Like as you said, that's the main source of education or the money. But when you came here, I know back in mind, you said you have some kind of wish to be a politician. But did you ever had a thought that I should go back and do some related work what I studied, like financial side or something?
The thing about education is it's never wasted, because even as a politician I have to look at budgets, right? So a big part of my job is actually the municipal budget, or when I was a minister, the ministerial budget. So having a CA, having a strong foundation in accounting is extremely useful when you're looking at your budget, you're looking at your balance sheet, you're looking at financing. So I feel that, you could be the Minister of Finance as a politician and be using your CA. So the education, like you don't have to be working in a bank to use your CA. You could be working in so many areas. But there's also, whether you're an engineer or whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a CA, once you have a professional degree, you start to think in a certain way, right? And that is the biggest, I think, learning that you get is how you think. If you're an engineer, you start to think really logically. If you are a lawyer, you can see both sides of the case. If you're a CA like me, you get very detail oriented. Like I can really get into the minutiae, and my staff is always surprised. How did you notice that? How did you notice that? It's just your training. So I find that my CA training helps me in two ways. One is every time I look at anything that's financial and I have to make a decision, it helps me. But also just anything, I'm quite detail oriented. So I'm quite comfortable, that I'm still using it, and I don't feel the need to go back and go into accounting or go into finance.
Hi, Deepika. Again, Sridevi.
Japan, yes.
My daughter has one question.
Japan.
Hi, Auntie.
Hi, what's your name?
Vidatri.
Gayatri.
Vidatri.
Vidatri. Hi, Vidatri. Ask me.
You mentioned when you were working in the corporate banking, your hours were very long, and you were still missing the work-life balance. So when you become a politician, weekends are not a day off. How are you managing work-life balance?
I am not. When I'm asked that question, I always say I don't do a good job of balancing work and life. It's a little bit better now as a city councillor, and definitely through COVID, because we're able to work from home. I have seen the big difference. I'm actually cooking every day. I'm able to make a meal, which I like cooking, so that's a good thing. But what I always tell everyone is work-life balance is a myth. If you really want to succeed, like I'm talking succeed off the charts, you cannot have work-life balance. Nelson Mandela didn't say, oh, I need work-life balance, so I'm not going to go to jail, I'm not going to do anything. Then, South Africa would still have apartheid. If Mahatma Gandhi said, I need work-life balance, you think India would have gotten independence. So to scale those great heights, I don't think you can have work-life balance. You just need to be obsessed. But if you want, a good life and, moderate success, but you want a good family life, then you can have work-life balance. But I think you have to admit that, ask what do you want. The challenge comes when some people say they want to have fantastic success and fantastic family life and fantastic this and fantastic that. If they're able to do it, more power to them. But my experience is it's very hard to have work. Like if I'm in a campaign, in an election campaign, I have no work-life balance. Like my family doesn't see me at all. I'm campaigning from like 8 in the morning till 9 at night. Repeat. No time to cook, no time to even do laundry. But that's only for like 2 months or 3 months. But so sometimes my answer would be, depends what you want out of life. But otherwise, work-life balance, if you're studying for medicine, forget about work-life balance, right? So it depends where you are in your life, and you have to make those decisions. So I know it's very fashionable these days to say, I want work-life balance. But I think that there are times in your life when you will not have work-life balance, because whatever you're trying to achieve is going to require you to be there 200%. And it's the hardest for women because we end up having kids, right? And it's really hard. Like if you're in your mid-30s, you have children, you're married, and if you're very ambitious, it can be very hard. And then a lot of women make that personal sacrifice, and they say, I will not go with that ambition because someone has to still bathe the kids, put dinner on the table, and a lot of men succeed the way they succeed traditionally because the women have been there doing everything from paying them water bill to the repair person to the kids' homework. And I'm seeing Lakshmi smile, so maybe Lakshmi does that, but we've all done that, right? And so we are there to free them up to do just work, because we will do everything else, especially the more educated women, because they'll do the banking and they'll do the groceries and the banking and the kids' homework, and all that the guy then has to do is maybe cut the grass, maybe put the garbage out, and then they can work. And you know what? As long as the husband and wife agree with that contract, I have no quarrel with that. So if the wife and the husband say, you know what, your success is my success and I will do this to help you, and a lot of people do, then there's no problem. The problems, I think, come when both are not happy with that situation. So there's no right or wrong, but I will admit that it's hardest for women to get the work-life balance.
Because they have the guilt.
And the guilt, yes, and the guilt, yes. Get rid of the guilt first. The rest will come.
Yeah, and I have to admit with that, Dipika Garu, because I think it's there in every career, and I'm glad to hear, people at your level say those things, that it's a myth, because I think it's a choice at any point of time. There are times where I work hard and I know, and consciously as a family, or be it my mother's or in-laws or husband or someone supporting the family, and me trying to be extra hard on work. And there are times when, let's say, it's same example where we had kids and I decided to take a step back consciously on my work, and it's again after 2 years or 3 years I will be more forceful there. So manam individual ga, like we cannot do it all. Either through support, if we are lucky enough to have that support system around to take care of good life for average, like overall life balance.
No, I agree. Yeah. 100%. But I don't like it when some very, very successful women. I shouldn't say I don't like it, but I'm always wondering. Oh yeah, they have work-life balance, and they wake up at 3 in the morning and do their workout at 4 in the morning, and then they do the kids' lunches at 5 in the morning, and then they work on their presentation till 6:30, and then they do their perfect makeup and leave at 7, and then they come back. Like, how long can you do that? How many days can you do that? And it takes amazing amount of self-discipline to be able to do that. And I think there might be a small minority of women who are able to do that every day, but not me. So.
Hello, Dipika Garu. This is Deepa again.
Hi, Deepa.
Okay, coming all the way here as an immigrant and doing a good software job, or what I mean, like in any other job, is a norm. Though they achieved as well, I do not deny on that, but like it's a norm for the people who are coming from India especially. But like I mean, standing in the place where you are standing or where you stood in the past, like it might need like a goal set, or it's an ambition. It's something might have really inspired you to be doing this. What is that? You're like, what inspired you to choose this career?
So definitely, to be perfectly candid, ambition, right? Without ambition, you can't do it. And it's really important, maybe to shed some light on that. The first time I ran for the ticket, which is called a nomination, I lost, but I didn't give up. And then the second time I ran for it, they canceled the nomination and they just gave it to someone. So technically I did not lose, but I did all the work, but then it's like studying for an exam and then the exam's canceled. And so it was the third time that I ran for a nomination that I won it. So, you don't have that level of persistence of losing. And you have to remember that, it's all public, right? Your losses are public, and the wins are public, but the loss is also public. And with that public loss comes some sense of humiliation or shame. So to be able to overcome that and go back to the same people who saw you lose and say, I'm going to run again, and then the next time you shore up all your support, and then it's canceled, and then you have to go back a third time to the same people. And by then, obviously people, it gets harder each time to get the same people to support you, because first time they'll support you out of maybe, okay, manamaye kada supported them, something like that. Second time maybe, but by the time you're at third time, you're really working hard, and it's easy to give up, right? It's easy to say, this is not for me, I've lost twice, I don't want to do it. But at some point, you know, ambition, persistence, call it what you will, definitely played a role. So I wanted to say that it didn't happen like, you know, I wanted it, I went for nomination and I got it the first time. It didn't happen. I had to struggle quite a bit.
Dipika, one question.
Third time. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Deepa. One question, Nandi. Chaitanya here. Malga, whenever we enter any kind of like, be it politics or be it work life, generally and when we are entering as a newbies, like 20s or 30s, we have some modern philosophies, like be it equality, more transparency, whatever is going on in that generation. And you end up having 30 or 20 years seniors to you who came up with a completely different philosophy of doing things, like we would call them old way of doing things. Again, there is nothing wrong there, right? I'm sure like when you entered politics, you would have faced that with your seniors and your way of doing things versus old way of doing things. How do you navigate that? And any examples you can bring up?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's something that I even face now, right? Because I'm viewed as a new counselor. So when I want to do things, I have been told many times that, you know, the people who have been on council for 20 years, 25 years, they sometimes get upset that why would somebody who's only been on council for 18 months bring this motion forward? I've been working on this issue for 20 years and now you want bring this motion forward and you want all the glory. I mean, there's all this petty politics that goes on, whether it's politics, whether it's in your office, and all of us have different styles, right? For some people, change management is you just go in there and you want to make your mark and you're kind of loud and strong and you know, you have your voice and you sort of are a disruptor, right? It's the disruptor model. And then there's the other one, which is you kind of bide your time, you sit there, you mind your own business and you create allies, and then, you know, you wait a little and then you say, okay, now is my time and I'm going to push my agenda forward. I call one the Meghan Markle model. You know, everyone knows the Duchess of Sussex. She went in, she wanted to change the monarchy, and then it didn't go so great, and now she's gone back to the US or whatever. So, you know, each model works, but it depends on the circumstance. My own personal instinct is always to go the slow route, you know, to sit there, watch, get your what they call street cred, and change. You know, change is one of the hardest things that we can ever manage, and change management is a science of its own. And what I've learned is that the best way to manage change is you plant an idea, 10 people will say no, you take 2 steps back, and then you plant that same idea 3 months later, and now 9 people say no. It's an iterative process, and just look around you. Look around you for anything in politics. Gay marriage, right? It took 20 years or 25 years for gay marriage to actually happen. Today, you know, you and me, we just take it for granted, right? Gay marriage. But you and me 25 years ago would have been quite, you know, it was a new idea. So almost everything new takes time to become the status quo. So that's just something to keep in mind, that, you know, definitely, you know, we come in with our own ideas and we come in with our own lived experiences, but the only way you can really make change is to have allies. If you're just fighting, all you can, you know, it's really hard. You have to have allies. So that's my model.
How do you go about finding those allies?
Like, you know, that's, yeah, and that was the best advice I ever got, was from the current leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca. He said to me, Dipika, the first thing you want to do in life is have allies. Whether it's in your, you know, even simple thing like on a joint family loan day, if you don't have an ally with your sister-in-law or your mother-in-law, chala kashtam ayipotundi. if you're isolated. You know, unless your husband is your ally, your brother-in-law is your ally, you need allies in any situation. Group lone unnaru, you're a group of 5 friends, you need allies. So how do you create allies? It's the $1 million question. Some people are naturally good at it, right? Easy ga వచ్చేస్తుంది, ఏమన్నాలో ఆ టైంలో ఏమన్నాలో అంటే చదువుకోవడం అవన్నీ ఈజీగా వస్తాయి. కొందరు మనలాగా కొంత మనం నేర్చుకోవాలి. But you know, I don't have an answer for you other than being aware, being self-aware that you need allies not everywhere in life. Mana joint family lo nunchi, you know, workplace anukondi, friendships anukondi, it's a skill that you need in every part of your life. Sorry, who asked me this question? I forget.
Chaitanya.
Deepa? Chaitanya. So Chaitanya, what I'm going to say is making allies, it's something that you have to do in every part of your life. How do you make allies? I think, you know, the simplest way is to find common interests, right? Find out what somebody else wants and help them do that, right? Then maybe you have a chance that when you want something, they will help you. So that's how you create allies, is, you know, it's almost like, you know, I think of allies as if you scatter 20 seeds, maybe 10 will germinate. 10 won't. మనం ప్రతిసారి ఏదో ఎవరికైనా హెల్ప్ చేస్తే వాళ్ళు మనకి తప్పకుండా రిటర్న్ హెల్ప్ చేస్తారని అలా అనుకుని వెళ్తే మాత్రం, you know, you will get disillusioned very quickly, because, you know, it happens to me all the time. Somebody wants to move some idea forward, I say fine, I'll support you, I support them. Then when I want to move my idea forward, they just disappear. So but if you do it with 5 people, at least 2 people will reciprocate. So I think a big part of creating allies in life is helping others when they need it, and then hopefully they'll be there for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Deepika Garu. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, finally, I just wanted to ask you that, do you have any suggestion for women?
Yeah, I do not have a lot of suggestion for women, other than to say, don't let your gender stop you, right? And what I mean by that is, sometimes we just decide that because I'm a woman, I cannot do this. And it could be either, you know, it could be, there could be good reasons for thinking that that's how we are raised and that's how sometimes society is. But don't actually just forget, you know, I remember this. This was a great line when Kathleen Wynne became the first female premier of Ontario. Some journalist asked her, what's it like to be the first female premier of Ontario? And she said, well, I've never been a male premier, so how would I know? So we don't know what it's like to be anything but female, right? So just forget you're female, right? Just say you're a human being and you want to, you know, if you have some goals, what are those goals? And to just go after them, and then you have to be ready for the trade-offs, right? So the trade-offs could be family life, the trade-offs could be so many different things, usually family life. And many women will say, okay, I will be candid, I have some friends who are in very unhappy marriages, for example, but they will not get divorced, and the reason they will not get divorced is my social circle, which is it's a valid point. Friends andaru undaru ante my group is everyone is married. If I get divorced, ante chedda peru ostundi, pillalki pellillu avutayi. Even today in 21st century, pillalki pellillu into Toronto lo untanu, pillalki pellillu avutaya, నాకు friends untara. So those are all very valid questions which stop us from, you know, getting out of a very bad marriage, for example. So even a simple thing like living in Toronto in the year 2020, I have girlfriends who are financially independent, who are making as much money as their husband, but are in very miserable marriages, who will not leave that marriage, not because they won't have a house or a roof, because the law will allow it, they're all making 100,000, 120,000, they're in good jobs. పేరు పోతుంది, సోషల్ సర్కిల్ పోతుంది, స్టేటస్ పోతుంది, అందరూ ఏమనుకుంటారు. So, you know, those are the things that we have to ask very honestly. When I'm 65 and 70 years old, will anyone care? All the sacrifice of having lived through an unhappy marriage matter, right? And there's no right or wrong question, but when you ask me what is my advice for women, I think we have all liberated now. మనం అందరం చదువుకున్నాం, అందరికీ పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్ డిగ్రీస్ ఉన్నాయి. సో మనం we are not like our mothers or our grandmothers that we cannot make our own money, that we can't speak the language, that we don't have rights. మనకు అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి, but we have socialization that stops us. We have fears that we are even, sometimes we have fears that we are not even willing to articulate. అసలు అది ఒక సెంటెన్స్ లో కన్వర్ట్ చేయడానికి కూడా మనకు అంత కరేజ్ ఉండదు, because it's so it's so dark there. So those are the things that I think, I would say those are our real struggles, Ragini, are those internal struggles. They're valid. I am not diminishing them. They're very valid struggles. They're struggles that I have gone through as well. But I think that's a sleeper issue that none of us talk about. So I wanted to raise that.
Hello, Dipika Garu. Na peru Padmini. Just one quick question. So, did you ever feel in your lifetime, like, is there a situation where you felt, oh, I should have made an decision like this, not in this way? Like,
regret. You're talking about regret. You're asking me, do I have regrets? I'll be honest, I have very few regrets. Very few regrets. Life has been good to me, and that's why I have very few regrets. I haven't had everything in life that I would have wanted, but I'm in general so grateful for everything that life has given me that I have very few regrets. And there's that famous Tamil song in Carnatic music, and MS Subbulakshmi always sings it at the end of every concert. I don't know the Tamil words, but in English it translates as I have no regrets. So she always ends every concert with that song, and that idea inspires me.
Nice. Yeah, that's nice. That's good. Right. But ipudu younger generation ki, so you're saying like even if they want to enter into the politics, you say you will be encouraging them to go to take those courses or to become a politician without anything hesitation, right? So is there anything specific courses that they have to do, or through community work only they will have to come up through to become politicians?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a particular education to becoming a politician. The only thing I would say is two things, is that politics as a career is very unstable. The average politician in Canada has a 3-year term. And what happens is many of them just get elected for one term and then they lose or they go away. And the only ones we know are the ones who get re-elected 5 times. Those names we know. But the average politician only lasts about 4 years. It's quite grueling. You don't make a lot of money, and governments change. So every 4 to 6 years, conservative, liberal. So a lot of people will lose. So the first thing I would say is to have some kind of an education that you can fall back upon, because if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, it's very easy. Practice. So if you are serious about politics, I would say don't become like a bank employee. ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పుడు దెన్ ఉద్యోగం వదిలేసి పాలిటిక్స్ లో వెళ్ళి ఓడిపోయాక మళ్ళీ ఉద్యోగం తీసుకోవాలంటే చాలా కష్టం. So it would be much better that you're a real estate agent or you're in business or something that you can come back to. So the first thing you want to do is secure your financial situation. And then the best politicians are the ones, two things, they have good lived experience. But if you want to get elected at 21 years or 25 years, you will not have the lived experience to be able to make good decisions, which you have to once you're in cabinet or whatever. So you need to have worked in business to be able to say, okay, this or that. It's really important to get into politics. I want to say more in your early 30s, active politics. And then the third thing is join a party. My advice to any young person who wants to get politically active is join a political party as a volunteer, go to their seminars, get to know people. That's the best training. So 3 things. Make sure you get an education that allows you to have a career where you can leave it and come back to it, like a business or a practice. The second thing is get good life experiences. And third, join a political party. And that political party you can join while you're young.
Right, yeah. Perfect.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think it's past 11:30, Ragini.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
having a lot of fun, but I have to balance my family here.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, so many ladies have so many other questions. Okay,
Oh,
so
this was
yeah,
great. Yeah.
thank you so much on behalf of OTF, and yeah, thank you so much for taking your time, Deepika Garu. And I personally believe
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I wish we could have done this for a little bit longer, but
yeah, maybe in future we'll have something longer.
yeah, I'd like to be back. This was great. Thank you for having me. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dipika.
Thank you, Ragini. Bye.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Yes, thank you, Ragini and OTF, for organizing this.
Yes, thank you so much. This is such a great motivation. Thank you.